Good morning. Yeah, I'd like to welcome back Kelly and Lindsay and Haley from college. It's really nice to have our kids returning back and being a part of the Dharma School Youth Ministers Assistants. I'd like to welcome everyone to this windy, cold, rainy, wet Sunday, December morning. Last Sunday, we observed our Bodhi Day service celebrating the enlightenment of the historical Shakyamuni Buddha with Reverend Ron Miyamura from the Midwest Buddhist Temple in Chicago as our guest speaker. And it was very nice to welcome Reverend Ron back to his home district here in Northern California. Last Tuesday was actually Bodhi Day. And as the legend of Siddhartha shares, on the morning of December 8th, as the sun rose in the west, Siddhartha awakened to the reality of life. And from that time on, he was known as the Shakyamuni Buddha. 5 weeks ago, I began teaching my 31st Metta Padma class. This is the religious award for Cub Scouts and Girl Scouts, and I think over the years I've had close to 600 kids coming through this program. Most have been about, at that time, 9 years old. This year I have a very manageable class size of 18 students, and I know this is manageable because there have been a few times, more than a few times, we've had over 30 students in this class, and I really am able to understand when teachers talk about class sizes and teaching. Yeah, 30 was almost unmanageable. Maybe it was unmanageable. But my Metta Padma students, they can tell you why Siddhartha, after he was awakened, after he was enlightened, he was called the Shakyamuni Buddha. Any of my students here today? Oh, okay, Nayak. Why is he called the Shakyamuni Buddha?
Because Buddha means awakened one,
Mm-hmm.
and he was from the Shakya clan.
Mm-hmm.
So Shakyamuni Buddha means enlightened one from the Shakya clan.
Yeah, enlightened one from the Shakya clan. Enlightened one, wise person from the Shakya clan who awakened. And so if one of us here becomes enlightened, we might be known as the Sacramento Betsuin Muni Buddha. So from the time he was awakened, and he was referred to as the enlightened one who was awake. And Siddhartha awakened to come to understand what the world, what life is about. And he didn't, as Reverend Ron said last week, he didn't create the Dharma. He didn't invent the Dharma. He simply woke up to the Dharma. His eyes opened. And he looked around and he saw things truly as they are. Siddhartha's eyes opened simply to see the world as it is. And so what did he awaken to? What did he see when his eyes opened? His Dharma eyes opened, and he saw first that everything is constantly changing. Nothing stays the same for even a moment. Nothing is forever. All things are impermanent. K, Metta Padma class. Impermanence, good or bad? Yes. What is it? Reality. Yeah. Isn't that great? Impermanence is not good or bad. It's reality. All right, you guys are going to pass. And at the same time, the Buddha awakened to the reality that everything is also interdependent. Everything is also interdependent. All things are interconnected in the karmic fabric of life. There is nothing that exists simply by itself. Everything is one. We are not separate from the earth or the environment. We are not separate from the sun or the moon. We are part of the oneness of all things. And if we can just live with a greater awareness that we do not exist simply by ourselves, the world would be a better place. Life is connected to the sun, the moon, the earth, the environment. If we could realize that we are all interconnected and interdependent, we would make the world a better place. This is the essence of what the Buddha shared 2,600 years ago, and what the Dharma continues to share to this day, simply because it's true. As I've often shared in discussions, we are not separate from the sun, although it's 93 million miles away. If the sun suddenly just turned off, within minutes the earth would begin to cool, and life as we know it would cease to exist. If we really felt oneness with our environment, how could we ever abuse it? All plants, the rainforest belting the equator, the plankton in the ocean, all are creating life-giving oxygen. We are interdependent. All life is interconnected in the karmic fabric of time and space. Each week, in reciting the Golden Chain, we are reminded of this sense of interconnectedness, to be kind and gentle to every living thing. Which brings me to the point I'd like to share today. Even more, during this holiday season, let us try to feel our connectedness to others. Let us try to nurture patience in even these hectic times we're living in. In living our often overly scheduled lives, we can too easily become impatient. We get caught up in focusing only what we have to do. There may be times when everyone else seems to be just getting in our way because we're just focused on what we need to do that day or to do today. Why are they driving so slow, Why are they driving so recklessly fast? We become so critical and judgmental and so impatient. I think if we can learn to be more patient with ourselves and with others, we'll find this world to be a better place. Patience is the seed of empathy. Patience is the seed of kindness. Some of you may remember this example I shared. Patty and I once, we were at Costco, and this example always seems to come to mind because, Costco is such a crazy, hectic place, and it's really hard to get out of there for me with under $100, Usually it's much more than that, but the, cart is full, and you're always looking for the lines when you're going out to check out for the shortest line. Well, usually when I have so much, it doesn't matter. I just get in line and just wait. Well, this day we were at Costco. We were in line, and this guy was scanning. He had like 2 items, and he was scanning all the lines, and he looked at us, and behind us it looked like we were the shortest, so he got in line behind us, and we're moving forward slowly, and he continues to be, his head on a swivel, looking to see if maybe another line is moving faster. And I turned and said, you seem to be in a little hurry. If you want to go in front of us, save you a few minutes. And he said, no, that's okay. And you could tell he's just really in a hurry. Finally, when we get up to the front, I turn and say to him again, it's okay. We're in no hurry. You want to go before us, you check out and get out a little earlier. And he went, oh, okay. And then he got in line in front of us and checked out. And while he's being checked out, his demeanor completely changes. Suddenly he's relaxed, smiling, looks in our cart, starts to make conversation. Hey, is that any good? Oh, I don't know. I just saw it and I want to try it too, And just showing patience, just showing a little empathy and kindness. I don't know what will happen next, but hopefully he'll go forward, pay it forward, and show kindness to someone else. We must try to nurture our empathy and our sense of oneness with others. Our empathy will nurture patience with ourselves and with others. Patience is a positive seed that can take root and grow into kindness and understanding. It can grow into appreciation and admiration. It can even grow into love. We must try to stop ourselves, I think, from so quickly judging and labeling everything. This is a negative seed that separates us from others. Once we label others as separate, it's easy to be impatient, and impatience leads to intolerance. Intolerance can easily flame into anger. Anger can explode into hate and violence and rage. If we consider all the violence and rage we often read or hear about in the news, it begins with people labeling themselves as being right and others being wrong. We are holy, they are evil. When we label and separate ourselves and judge others, we lose our sense of connectedness as human beings. And if we magnify this disconnect to fanaticism, that disconnect can lead to destruction on a global scale. The world is small, and the weapons of destruction we have now are devastating. It is time that as a species, if humanity is to survive, we have to try to move beyond as many labels as we can, for these labels also separate us. We have to try to move beyond the labels of nationalism and race. We have to move beyond the labels of political ideologies. We have to move beyond religious sectarianism, Christian, Jewish, Islamic, Hindu, Buddhist. We have to move beyond we're right, you're wrong, our way is better. The world is small, and the weapons of destruction we have now are devastating. I cannot mention enough that it is time, if humanity is to survive, we must move beyond all of these labels, as many as labels as we can. I've never shared this incident in Dharma school, I believe, but in discussions and in adult dialogues I have. But some years ago, I was invited to attend what seemed to be a really diverse and interesting gathering. There was going to be a panel of 15 or 16 different religious traditions, various Christian and Jewish traditions, Islam's Sunni tradition, Sikhs, Hindu, Native American shaman. It sounded so intriguing. I thought, oh yeah, I'll come. And when I arrived, I found to my surprise, I was on the panel. I wasn't prepared for this, but I thought I would just listen to all these other people. But they had me on this panel of about 15, 16 people, and they asked each of us to talk for 5 minutes about our religious tradition. I was somewhere near the last 1/3, so about 10, 11, 12 people were speaking before me, and no one spoke for 5 minutes. Everyone spoke for minimally 10, maybe a little longer. And 10 people speaking for 10, 15 minutes. I mean, a couple hours went by. And as each person was speaking, I'm sitting there first thinking, okay, what shall I talk about? Explaining Buddhism. And after 1 hour, I was saying, well, I better make it shorter. And after an hour and a half, 2 hours, I was saying, I gotta make it really, really short. Because I look out there, and there were a couple hundred people, and they were getting kind of like, okay, when's this gonna be over? They were being very patient about staying there. And so I thought, well, I have to distill this down as simply as I possibly can. And when it came to me, after the introductions of who I was and where I'm from, I said this. I tried to get it down to one sentence. And I said, if there's a religious tradition in the world that would say, let's get rid of all religious traditions and start all over and just be good to each other, I think that would be Buddhism. And I said, that's it. And I handed the microphone over. When it was over, I had dozens of people coming up to me saying, that was great. Which made me think, wow, I think people intuitively sense that we do have to move beyond all of these labels. We have to move beyond labeling people and judging and thinking that we're better than others. This was actually very easy to say if there's a tradition that would say, let's get rid of all religion and start over. It was easy to say because it was never the historical Buddha's intention to start a new religious tradition. He just shared what he realized was reality. This is the nature of the world, and encouraged others to do the same. And what the Buddha shared was never taught as something for anyone to believe. Buddhism is not a belief system. Everything that he taught was for testing. Testing, is it true? And if it's true, if it makes sense, use it. He didn't say to his disciples, I want you to believe everything I say and call my teachings Buddhism and always remember and revere me and don't change a thing. He said, in your life, let truth be your guide. That was it. Let truth guide you. Shinran Shonin too, he never intended to start a new sect of Buddhism. He lived and died a disciple of his teacher Honen. None of them said, follow me, I am the chosen one. In fact, as I've often said to many people, if someone says, follow me, run the other way as quickly as possible. Unless you smell smoke and that person is a fireman. But it was never their intention to start a new religion. It's not about another label. The earth is the only world we have, and we must not take for granted by labeling and judging. We can't just assume that the judging and hatred will stop. It is time. If we really want to make the world a better place, we have to encourage ourselves and everyone around us to move beyond as many labels as we can. We have to move beyond the labels of nationalism and race. We have to move beyond the labels of political ideologies and religious sectarianism. We have to not be so concerned about being right or being the best if we are to make the world a better place. We have to deepen our sense of interdependence and try even more to embrace our shared humanity. This is my hope for the holidays and my hope for the future. And I'd like to thank you for braving the weather and coming this December chilly, wet, windy Sunday morning. In closing, please join me in Gassho. We must try to nurture our empathy and sense of oneness with others. Our empathy will nurture patience, and patience is a positive seed that can take root and grow into kindness and understanding. It can grow into appreciation and admiration and even love. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu.